In this video, we're going to be building a cold email entirely from scratch. We're going to be looking for a B2B SaaS online. We have no context whatsoever of what this SaaS sells, what they do, who they sell to. We're going to figure that all out based just on their website and just do a live demo going from copy ideation to copywriting to clay building and end up hopefully with a pretty good campaign. So we've used the same approaches. Of course, we have a lot more information going in, but we've used these same approaches to generate clients over $40 million in pipeline over the past year using cold email and LinkedIn outreach. So if you're curious for your B2B SaaS, please feel free to book a call in the description. There'll be a call link at the top and we can have a quick 15-minute chat just to see if anything might make sense. But I hope you enjoy the video. Few points here. Obviously, this is going to be way harder than normal. This is kind of outbound on super hard mode or nightmare mode, if you want to call it something fancy. Reason being is I can only base this off information on their website, and I can only base this on information that I can find. Whereas normally, like ideally, we'd have done customer interviews. We would have done written a sales argument for the clients. We would then do outbound based on those things. So we're kind of doing this on hard mode, but nonetheless, let's have a look through and just see if we can find one that looks pretty cool. So buster.so, cloud computing. I'm not really looking for anything specific here, just trying to find something that seems... in fact, I'm going to pause this until I find one that looks cool. Okay, so I found this one called Momentic.ai, basically automated software testing. Generally, what I was looking for there is just seeing if any ideas came to mind. I have a couple of ideas here, so we will run with it. So first and foremost, I think where to begin is let's just start a quick Google Doc and see what ideas come to mind. This wouldn't be a typical, like I say, a typical way of building a campaign, but as I have no information, normally we'd have onboarding forms and we'd have done customer interviews and sales argument, like I say. But as we don't, we're kind of relying on what we can find. So it doesn't seem like they've even launched. So this could be a bit trickier. But we can, okay, so let's just think of, so they don't have any case studies, they don't have any information. So it's even harder. This is actually a really tricky one, but we'll figure it out nonetheless. So I think some pains, they do automated software testing. So some ideas of triggers. So I guess naturally, if we think about software testing, it might be have released broken features would be, of course, the ultimate bad thing with software testing. So release broken features. Now, how can we find broken features? We could, of course, somehow, I don't know if there's any kind of QA platforms or anything. So I think the obvious move here would be look at maybe App Store reviews or other software-based reviews, and look for any negative reviews that mention features that are buggy or broken that should have been caught by a QA team. So I think that's a fairly good starting point. I don't think there's anything here we could do an interactive demo. I don't think it's going to be too useful. So we'll move with speed. Let's go now to GPT and we'll start a new chat. And we will say, I have a software testing company. I want to find some new clients, but I am not sure how I can determine whether or not a software company, let's be more specific, determine whether or not a company who sells software products might be struggling with this. Here is one idea that I had. And then we're going to paste this in. Do you have any other ideas following the same theme to help me to publicly identify whether or not a company that sells software might be struggling with a poor QA process? So it might come back with nothing, but we'll just see if it gives us any ideas. Twitter, social media, monitor mentions of software on platforms. Users often voice frustrations. That's actually pretty good. So we'll steal that, put it in here. Again, GitHub, maybe we can do something with GitHub, sure. Customer support channels, public support tickets, some companies. I think this is going to be too difficult to repeatedly do, so we'll give that a miss. Support response time again, tech review sites, job listings, frequent QA job postings. That's very good. We will do this. And like I say, I don't know if you've seen any of my videos before, but I have mentioned in the past, if you have really strong data, the campaigns write themselves. I think a lot of people go wrong and a lot of companies go wrong because they just try to blast emails with zero information and zero context of what the problem is and what people are actually struggling with, which is exactly why we do customer reviews and write sales arguments in an ideal world before doing any outbound, because that really helps us to dial in exactly what people are struggling with. So financial reports and public statements, earnings call reports, no. Competitive analysis. Okay, I think we're pretty good here. So now what I will do is I will start to write the email. I think we can start with a pretty good email here. So, hey John. It's always John, Mr. John. Hey John, let's just start writing stuff and see what happens. Saw a few reviews on the App Store that mentioned complaining about X broken feature. How are you avoiding releases with bugs in the future? So we're going for how are you avoiding, just because loss aversion is a stronger emotional pull. And just to give some context, and this is something I find really useful with copywriting and emails and whatever it might be, just start writing stuff. Don't really worry too much about how it sounds in the beginning, and then over time you can improve it. So, hey John, saw a few reviews on the App Store complaining about X broken feature. How are you avoiding with releases with such bugs in the future? So I saw that you have been hiring for 7 QA engineers. Can't spell today. Engineers over the past 3 months. Would you, what did they do again? Low code AI powered testing platform that helps developers author end-to-end tests in minutes, not days. Maybe we can find some info on here. There we can, good. Developers author end-to-end tests 10 times faster. So again, more information. I probably should have done this first, but whatever. Put that in here. We make AI do the heavy lifting for you. So it's an AI product. Finding elements, reasoning about assertions, visual comparisons during whole test cases. Testing slows you down. Companies eventually have a trade-off between velocity and quality. Maybe we can use this somewhere. Self-healing steps. We may not use any of this stuff, but it's always good to get it in there. Seamlessly integrates into your existing workflows from a local development to CI/CD production. I mean, we'll steal it anyway, just in case. Don't think we're going to say this, but anyway. Interact in plain English. That's pretty cool. So we could put here, just to give you an idea of what I'm thinking, like here, for example, is saying that you can craft assertions from any logical statement or visual condition. And then you can see in the box, he's saying there is a tooltip showing Maui with the price of $197 for a flight. So we could actually put an example and some kind of automated example for that. So I'm just going to do Maui example pulling something from their website to show human language. Record and play, replay, make the team. Does it Robin Hood? Currently in private beta. Plan to give access to select few companies. Please reach out. Accelerate quality. And we will steal this. Boom. So now we have some relatively decent data, at least based on our current restrictions. So, okay, so now let's think about this. Saw a few reviews in the App Store complaining about X broken feature. How are you avoiding? So I'm thinking maybe we can blend these into one question. So I'm just going to try that somehow down below. Like, hey, John, how are you avoiding releases? How are you avoiding releasing broken, buggy features like X in the future? Saw a few reviews on the App Store that mentioned it. And as you are currently hiring for 7 QA engineers, I assumed QA might be a bottleneck. Okay, so now we can think about what else we can put in here. So it's kind of story. It's kind of difficult here because we need to tell a story because they don't have case studies. They don't have any proof that this works. It's just theory. So maybe this email might need to be slightly longer, which if you know me, you know I don't really care about. So we can run with it. Okay, so let's just pull down here all the things that might be relevant to our story. So Jeff led testing at Robinhood. If you spend more time on resources than you'd like on testing, it might be good. Maybe we can give an example. from their website. AI-powered self-healing steps. Might be going too into it right now. I think it probably is. Bottom line is testing slows you down, and all companies eventually encounter a trade-off between velocity and quality. We might be able to do this. Something to do with Jeff at Robinhood. And maybe we can say this before the story or before the example. Okay. So I put it in the wrong place. Yeah. Okay, so now we have our kind of story outline, story baseline we may or may not use. So let's start writing. I used to lead, when I led testing at Robinhood, we were spending more let's just put this for now. We spent a lot of time on testing and encountered a trade-off between velocity and quality. I created Momentic. I since created Momentic to I know nothing about QA, by the way, so I'm kind of trying to figure this out as I go as well. I created Momentic to, what does it do? Speed up the end-to-end test case creation process, which uses AI and human English language to speed up the end-to-end test case creation process. Boom. And then we can say, for an example from your website, we might want to say, let's take the Momentic one for now, and then we're going to use AI probably to build this part out. But we may want to say, I really know nothing about QA, pulling something from their website. Oh, fuck. Where did I even see this thing? I think it was on here. So he does. There is a tooltip showing Maui with the price of $197. Okay. We want to say there is an H1 title that says automated software testing with AI. To grab and test this element. Let's say we're currently in closed beta, but think would love to invite you on board. Want me to send an invite? Okay, so now we have a very rough and ready email one. I'm not going to spend a ton of time. I think it's kind of useless for the video for me to go through and perfect all the copy and write an email that's kind of outbound ready, because I don't really think that it's going to be that valuable for learning. So let's just go through and make sure that we have a basic email. But just for context, what I would normally do here is, okay, like we have a fundamental email. Let's then work through it, cut out any things that we really don't want to say. Maybe we'll think of some different value propositions. Just for context, like normally we'd do this. We'd have, this might be one email, and then we'd test maybe 3, 4, 5 different ones, looking at different value propositions or pain points or whatever it might be. So if you're following along for your company or for another company, another SaaS, that's what I recommend you do. And we'd also then go through each one and then just make sure, just improve the copy, make it a bit better, make it shorter where possible. Again, I don't really care about writing a short copy. I think long emails are fine if they make sense. So we'll just read through this real quick. So, hey, John, how are you finding? So let's just put some names in here. So John is a founder of a SaaS company who has let's just say John is a founder of a SaaS company. It doesn't really matter. So John is the founder of a SaaS company. And actually, let's say John is the CTO of a SaaS company. Probably makes more sense. Or CTO or head of QA of a SaaS company. And we're going to say, hey, John, how are you avoiding releasing buggy features like X in the future? This is kind of a risky line because it may piss people off. That's not always a bad thing. Like if they are releasing buggy features and we're going to use user data to find this, maybe it's not so bad. You have to test these things as well. Ruffle a few feathers. So that's cool. We'll run with it. Saw a few reviews. Sounds weird. Saw some reviews on the App Store that mentioned it. That mentioned it. Saw some reviews on apps on the App Store that complaining about this. Saw some reviews on the App Store complaining about this. And as you're currently, I mean, this is a SaaS, so App Store doesn't really make sense. So maybe we could just say, saw some reviews on, let's just go with App Store. Let's just say it's a mobile app. Makes life easier. But if it was a SaaS, like where you don't use App Store, we could use Trustpilot, or we could use Capterra or something. Same thing. But we'll go with mobile app company. So now it says App Store, and as you're currently hiring for 7 QA engineers, I had assumed QA might be a bottleneck. Actually, SaaS company could work if they have a mobile app, but whatever. We won't worry too much. We'll go with mobile app company. So when I led testing at Robinhood, we spent a lot of time on testing and encountered a trade-off between velocity and quality. Again, I personally wouldn't say this. I'd reword this entirely, but as it's just a demo, we don't really care. I've since created Momentic, which uses AI and English language to speed up the end-to-end test case creation process. An example from your website, we might want to say there is an H1 title. Let's say you might want to extract the H1 title that says Ultimate System of AI. Well, extract your H1 title where you can get this simply by typing get the H1 that says automated software testing with AI. we're saying the same thing twice. It's pointless. We can create a test case from your website simply by typing. Sure, we'll run with it because I don't want to spend too much time on the copy. Like I said, it doesn't really matter at this point because it's just a demo. But I think we have a roughly okay email. I think this would still perform relatively well, to be honest. So yeah, currently in closed beta, would love to invite you on board. Want me to send an invite? Boom. Cool. So now we have our email, or maybe you have your emails. And the idea here is you're just writing and you're just trying to create any kind of email that might make any sense at all. It doesn't really matter too much. So now we have to figure out, okay, how do we get this data? So what I like to do is I go through the email and I just think, okay, what are the things that I need to build in somehow? So we need to figure out at scale how we can figure out like what are the problems. Boom. Saw some reviews in the App Store complaining about this. As you're currently hiring for, how many QA engineers are they hiring for? We need to figure this out. I assume QA might be a bottleneck. When I led blah, 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 since blah, blah, blah. And then, okay, we need to take the title, the main H1 on their website. So we need to scrape that. So we've got 3 things there that we need to figure out how we can get in Clay. So I'm just going to pause and open up Clay so I don't show you any client tables real quick. Okay, so we're now in Clay and we're going to go ahead and figure out how we can get in this green data. So obviously, like if you were doing this for real, you wouldn't probably start with a blank table. You might. But in most cases, you're going to start with a list of companies or a list of people that you want to talk to, and then you can filter the data from there. So I think in this case, as it's a demo, there's no point in me going ahead and scraping a bunch of companies. I may as well just show you like what we would do with a few examples. So we're looking for a company that has mobile apps. So let's just go to the App Store, see if we can find... I don't actually know. Can I do it on here? Let me pause real quick and I'll find some companies. Okay, fantastic. So now we have, I don't know, my camera has gone. Let's go here. Now we have a selection of companies. Again, just demos, examples, and I've gone and manually got their App Store links. So now what we need to do is obviously we're trying to figure out a way to build in this data. So first and foremost, we need to figure out what are the buggy features in their app. So to do this, of course, like if we were to do this manually as a human being, we'd probably go here and we would go to reviews. And then here we go, like 1-star reviews, issues with matching names, blah, 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 blah. And we go through here and we're just trying to figure out like which ones are bugs from the software. And we have to think about, so again, things like this. So we're really looking for all these negative reviews. Like what are people saying? Why do people really hate this app? And of the reasons that they do hate the app, are any of those reasons anything to do with problems that should have been caught in QA? So we need to figure out a way to get these reviews at scale. So a really good place for this kind of stuff is to use Appify. If you're not familiar with Appify, then again, I don't know why my camera keeps clicking off, but sure. If you've never used Appify, basically it's like a portfolio, a website where you can rent APIs that are already launched, already running on servers, so you can just use them whenever you need. So all you do, pretty simple, you come to store and let's search for App Store. Let's just see, App Store scraper. So this one here, App Store data extractor, scrape reviews too. Perfect. So we're going to take this, and now we need to import this into Clay somehow. So there's a few different ways that you can do this. Like if you've done the run already, I mean, we're just going to do this live because I actually don't know what the best approach here is. So let's click start. Let's rent it. So it's on my account. And then let's first and foremost, let's try, because Clay has an Appify extension thing. So let's just see if that works, real quick, let's go for refresh. LinkedIn App Store scraper. Okay, this might work. So now we need to figure out what is the data that we need to give it and how do we need to do it. So what I'm going to do is just take one of these links here. I'm going to go into, so we need to figure out what URL should start with. So maybe we can just put this. And we click start. So now it's going to run the actor. I just want to make sure first and foremost that this gives back the data that we're looking for. Which it does, which is good. So now we need to find out how that request was done. Well, there's 200 results. Maybe it's fine. We'll figure it out. But maybe I did something wrong. Bear with me 2 seconds. Oh, search term is not game. I did do something wrong. So we need to come here, search term. We don't want US. Maximum number of listing items. All right, let's try that again. So we should only get one thing back. That's what I'm hoping to see. One Robinhood, I think, was the link that we put in, and we want to see if we get back the reviews. So it should hopefully just stop here now. Okay, good. So now we have one Robinhood. So now we know that this input here is correct. So what we have to do is come back into Clay, and our input data would be essentially this. Now, can we? I don't know if we can do this. Let's try it anyway. But we, of course, need start URLs to be our App Store link. Now, sometimes it's a bit funny, but I think this may work. Let's try save more on 10. I'm going to pause this until it's done. Okay, so as you can see, that worked just fine. There is a problem. We don't seem to have reviews, but I believe that maybe I again did something wrong. Yeah, include review. So I'm going to save and start that again, but now we know it's validated, that works. So we don't really care. So we can just take this input and we just need to add in include reviews to true. So we come in here, edit column. I'm just going to change that to true. Boom, save and run 10. So now we should have a list of all of the reviews. So while that's running, like we know that we're going to have to analyze a lot of reviews. So while we wait for that data, we're just going to open up the AI. Where on earth is AI moved to? ChatGPT it's called now. Cool. And then we just want to say like based. Wait. Let me just put something and save this. I don't know what's happened here. Might need to refresh. Cell data exceeds size limit. Okay, so this test obviously didn't work so well because I'm guessing with this integration, we like if the return size of the data is too big, like there's too many reviews or whatever it might be, then it can only hold a certain amount in here. But let's let's run with it for now. It's not a huge problem. Obviously, if we're running this properly, then it would be an issue. But I think for now, we might be able to, unless there's a way for us to limit the amount of reviews in here. I don't think so. It's a bit annoying, but we move. That's fine. So let's just have a look at these reviews anyway. Let's see what we've got. So we can do it on one, like we can assume that it would be the same for everyone else. So we have this reviews item. Okay, cool. So we have 150 reviews here for monzo.com. And here we see in the text of each one, we have their thoughts and feelings. So now we need to say something to extract these reviews. So we can say summarize these reviews, which will be in here. And we're going to insert all 150 reviews. Too many items in the prompt. Maybe it'll be fine. I want you to particularly focus on recent negative reviews that mention issues with the app that QA that should have been discovered by a QA team. I hope this works, because otherwise we have a big problem. Let's go model. Oh, they have 4.0. Anyway, 3.5 turbo. Make the prompt shorter. Let's try it and see what happens. It might be okay. No. So max concert length, so 23,997. Okay, so as a workaround, like the problem here is basically we've got 150 reviews, but GPT is only doesn't have a context window big enough. So I think one way we can fix that is if we go to formula, and then we're going to go ahead and take the reviews again, like this. And I want to say extract the most recent 50 entries. Let's try that. That's going to be huge. Let me pause a sec while I figure this out. Okay, so we've now fixed the issue. So the problem was that the context window isn't big enough for some of these leads. So how we'd fix this in a real situation would be to use something like Cloudflare Workers and create some custom JavaScript to be able to take that data and manipulate it differently. But unfortunately in Clay, we cannot work with data that's so big. So that's how we do it in a real situation. For this situation, it doesn't really matter too much. It's perfectly fine to just demonstrate how we do this. But anyway, so what we have done now is we've now been able to run the prompt. So just to recap what we've done here, we just want to summarize the reviews and focus on any negative reviews that mention issues with the app that should have been discovered by a QA team. So we just have a look through. See, we have dispute resolution. Not all of these will be great, first and foremost. That could, of course, be a prompt problem, but we can fix this. So direct deposit handling, complaining inconsistency of timing. Okay, this should have been caught by QA. Spot me feature, complaining that not being able to get the advertised 200 limit. Okay, this is probably not a QA thing. At least I don't think so. Again, not QA, not QA, not QA. But this is fine, because what we'll do is let's go ahead and let's make another prompt. So we go here. So in a real situation, you probably wouldn't do this. Just for context, you can, but it's kind of it can be a bit of a waste of credits. But here we just want to say, based on the issues found in, and then put unclear prompt response, which are the most obvious issues that should have been spotted by a QA team. And then we'll just tell it, because last time it was doing like based on the recent reviews. We don't want that. We just want a straight output. So we can say, I don't want you to show me how you think. Just output the main issues that should have been discovered by a QA team. Maybe we say the most obvious technical issues, the main technical issues. Just for the example, we'll just go for 4.0, and then we'll run these. So just while that's loading, apparently all inputs are empty. Okay, they're queued. So now we're going to get, so how are you avoiding recent buggy features like X? That's going to give us, or at least we'll get those from this. Then we just need to do the how many QA engineers they're currently hiring for. And then we need to pull this from their website. So let's just go one step at a time. Okay, we now have dispute handling processes. Okay, so I don't like that. Maybe here we remove technical issues. And just see what that gives us instead. And while this is, I don't know why this isn't working on this table. But anyway, while that's loading, we will have a look at how we can get the H1 of their website. So let's use, for this we use probably, we can use Clayagent for this. And for people watching that are unfamiliar, what Clayagent is able to do is Clayagent can go and do research online on websites for you. But I think in this situation, because we know the element that we want, it probably makes more sense if we, let's see, it's a great website. Probably makes the most sense to get this. Take this and we'll put the company domain, output fields, title. I don't know if title is what, I don't know if the title is actually the H1 in this case. Let's test it. Title. Okay. I think it's going to be the top of the website, but we'll see anyway. We might need to go back and keep non-text in body. Yeah, okay, so we want the text so we can determine what is the H1. Let's just run these for all of them. Okay, so we get bitstamp.com. Okay, so we actually wanted to we want all the output fields. Okay, while that's loading, okay, let's just check coin list. Damn. Okay, so some of them are going to require JavaScript. This is fine. Okay, so we have now body text. And then what we can do is we'll create a formula, because obviously this is pretty incoherent when we get the body text. But what we can do is we can just create a formula and say extract the first H1 tag content that you find from here, and we want to put in the body text. And what the formula does, it basically just creates JavaScript to do things for you. So that didn't work. Let's see if we can find an example. So this didn't give us any tags. Okay, maybe Clayagent might be more efficient here, so we'll just test that. Let's go to Clayagent. Whoops. Clayagent, and we'll say, I want you to visit this website, give it the company domain, and extract the main hero text, which is likely to be in H1 tags. I want you to only output the hero text. Do not output anything else. If you cannot find hero text or an H1 text near the top of the page, just output false. Let's just, for this, let's just put sure. And then we will run, let's not do all of them. So let's just run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And just see if that's any easier for us to get that text over the Scrape website feature. False, false. That's great. So clearly the prompt is a bit wrong. Let's go to Chime Bank. Could be the problem that it was redirecting. Let's try this one. Okay, that also could be a problem. Let's try find an easy one. Okay, so this should be easy. So we just look how this was built. So it isn't an H1. Whoops. And that one was Bitstamp. We said false, so clearly the prompt is not optimal. Extract the main hero text, which is at the very top of the page and the first thing a user will see. Damn it. See, this one worked. This one worked. This one works. So it's better, but for some reason, it's not very good at extracting that text. I'm trying to think of another way that I can say it. I don't know if you can see my camera messing up on the video or not. It's weird. If you can't, then ignore everything I said. But, okay, 3 mil global investor community. So I think if we run these a few times, it should probably figure them out. Again, of course, in a normal situation, I would just sit here and fix the prompt until it was perfect. But again, as this is just a demo, it doesn't make a huge deal of sense to do that. Okay, fine. So we have a few. That's perfect for the example. Again, just for context, if anyone is following along and wants to test it, the best thing that you can do here is just write out the prompt exactly how you would do it. And you really just need to test, like especially with Clayagent, you need to spend a lot of time testing and just making sure that it repeatedly gets the data you're looking for. So objectively, H1 tags and title tags should be easy to get. Some problems as to why it might not be getting them could be like JavaScript, as we saw earlier. Maybe they're loading differently. Maybe a pop-up appears, things like that. So maybe Clayagent isn't the best thing to use. Maybe it was the web scraper. But as we have some results here, we can move forward, and that gives us the title. But yeah. So now we have let's look at how the technical issues got on. Lag and slow loading, freezing and crashes, browser and app connectivity issues. Let's see what else we get. Account closures and difficulties withdrawing. App crashes. I'm just going to change this prompt again as well and just say, I want you to be absolutely sure that the items you select are to do with the app and how it was built. For example, you should not mention customer service, as this has nothing to do with QA. But you should mention things like crashes and slowness, as these are directly tested by QA teams. So again, let's just check if that improves the output anymore, because I'm not completely happy with these. And again, I know it is a demo, and a lot of the AI stuff you'll do in Clay is just figuring out exactly how to communicate with, or how to get the AI to do what you want. And it can be pretty time consuming. Okay, so let's see. Investment, transparency, and fees with unexpected charges during share transfer. Maybe. Okay, so troubles verifying identity through the app. This is good. App functionality, buggy performance, inability to browse, difficult seeing investments, app crashes and bugs in the investment process. So they're definitely better. Definitely better. But I want them to be more, maybe a bit more specific. Make sure that each item is specific and not summarized. I want you to make sure, I want you to output each item into a JSON format, with the key being the number of the issue. Example 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each issue you find should be individual and not blend together multiple different issues. And a weird thing as well with AI is if you tell it things like this, if you say, I am trusting you to do this correctly and as per my instructions, if you do not and get this wrong, I will lose my job and my family will be unable to eat. For some reason, it seems to perform better when you do that. And if at the start we say something like, take a deep breath and follow this step by step. It's crucial that you follow my steps exactly. Do not output how you think. I just want to know the issues. And then we'll turn this on. This is just going to give us it in JSON format. If you're unfamiliar with what JSON format is, in layman's terms, essentially it's just structured. So rather than having it be like a text output of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it will give us actually items we can work with, which you'll see in a second. So I just save these and don't run it. And then we're going to go ahead and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you'll see, wait. Return as JSON mode. Okay, it hadn't loaded, that's fine. So now we can output these to, see here, we get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 versus the before in the text. So now these are much better. You see how like the prompt engineering is really, really important because these are actually pretty good. So now we can, in fact, we don't really need these. Okay, so now we have some solid issues that we can reference. How do we get them in the email? Buggy features like X. So let's do one final AI column. GPT. In fact, I'm going to use Claude for this because Claude is better at copywriting than GPT. So we're going to go AI again. We're going to go Claude, model version. Let's use Sonnet. And we will say, in here are multiple issues with an application that have been extracted from reviews. And we will give it the, we'll give it the JSON in JSON format. And we can say, I want you to look through all of these issues and select the one issue that is most likely to be caused by most likely should have been found by a QA team and has the highest amount of user impact to the application. Once you have selected this issue, I want you to summarize the issue into a maximum of 10 words in such a way that it would work in this sentence. And what we're going to do is we're going to give it the sentence that we use, like issue in the future. Okay. We won't run it. And then I'm just going to run it for all of these ones here. Let's just see what we get back. Claude is normally very good at copywriting and making more human and natural language. There goes my camera again, messing up. Okay, so we clearly have a problem based on the blah, 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 summarizing this in 10 words or less, ignoring notification preference. Okay. So the sentence is really good, as expected, but we just need to tell the prompt not to tell us anything else. I only want you to output the final sentence, nothing else. Do not use speech marks. And that should fix the issue. Boom. How are you avoiding releasing buggy features like app extreme? Okay, so that's it's obviously not ideal. How are you avoiding releasing buggy features like authentication process failures, causing inability to progress? Okay, so the prompt definitely still needs some work. I have a meeting, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this and we'll get back to this in a second. Okay, so to get this working, I've had to change the copy a bit, and I think the copy flows a bit better now as well. The problem was that like I was trying to shoehorn basically a square into a circle hole with the way the prompt was written. So what I've done is I've changed the email a bit so that now we have, hey, John, your app seems to have a problem with X based on a few recent reviews. Not to point the blame, but as you're hiring for 7 QA engineers, you think it could be a QA issue. So now it's a little bit easier to get consistent outputs. And some of the data problems were coming from this start point. So how I've changed it now is this will now look for the most commonly occurring technical issue with the app here, like this. So now we're basing everything off of the single issue. So now we get responses that are a bit better. I would definitely polish these up a bit more in a real scenario, but I think they're fine. Your app seems to have a problem with the spot me limits not increasing as expected based on a few recent reviews. Frequent login failures based on a few recent reviews. Problems with login and authentication issues. So these are pretty good to go now. So like if we just go in here, and then we can plan out exactly how the email would look. So it would be like, oops, like this. Not to put them blame. Okay, so now we need to figure out how many QA engineers they're currently hiring for. So there's a few different ways to do this. The easiest way is to use find open jobs. I think predict leads is a bit better because it uses, I believe this is predict leads, yeah, because it uses a few different data sources, but we can have a look at them both. So we do company domain, and then let's see, quality assurance. Boom. Don't save. And then we'll just run these for all of these and see if they're hiring for any QA positions right now. I think if they're not, like it's probably still fine. By the way, I think Clay have updated some UI stuff recently, which is why this table is behaving strangely. So I think there's some changes still going on because you currently can't right click, but I think that's why this is being weird. I'm going to pause this and unpause it as soon as this is done. Okay, so I now have open jobs. We didn't find any on Predict Leads, but we do have some on the Google Jobs, which is good. One of the problems was that some of the jobs, as you can see, aren't to do with, like Senior Director of Internal Audit. We only want jobs that have quality testing, quality assurance in the title. So all I've done is I have a quick formula here. And again, if you're unfamiliar in Clay, you can click on Edit Column and you can go to Use AI, and you can create a JavaScript formula here based on natural language. So I've just said how many jobs in results, mention test or quality in the title. And what that will do is just look through the data here and give us the real number. So now we know that these two companies are hiring for quality assurance. So Chime Bank and Republic are hiring for QA. So again, we can come back in here and we'll put 5. So the only other thing we need to get is this, which we have already, in fact. So let's have a look and see if we got one there. Perfect, 3 million. Global investor community is the H1 tag. By typing get the H1 tag that says. My mouse is kind of laggy. Perfect. So now we have a full email based on real data. Of course, this is just a tiny example. And we have done 14 companies. So, and you'll also notice that not all the companies have the data we need, which is fine. And normally what we do is we have one campaign that runs, say we did 10,000 companies in here, we might have 2,000 that meet everything, okay? And they would match, we'd send them this. And then there might be companies that only have everything, but maybe they're not hiring QA. So then we'd have a separate campaign that just does everything, and then we'd reword this slightly, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty much the whole campaign. Let's have a look at what it ended up like. Hey, John, your app seems to have a problem with frequent login failures based on a few recent reviews. Not to point the blame, but as you're hiring for 5 QA engineers, do you think it could be a QA issue? When I led testing at Robinhood, we spent a lot of time on testing and encountered a trade-off between velocity and quality. I have since created Momentic, which uses AI and English language to speed up the end-to-end test case creation process. We can create a test case from your website simply by typing get the H1 that says 3 million plus global investor community, for example. We're currently in closed beta, but I'd love to invite you on board. Want me to send an invite? So this is pretty much end-to-end, building a cold email using Clay. 2 ways you can now import this into your sending tool. Either you could just export, so just down here, export the CSV and match up the correct columns. Of course, you want to create filters as well to make sure that you're exporting the right things. So for example, if we just wanted to export companies that had QA, hiring for QA positions, we'd create a filter that was like filter, testing jobs count is greater than 0. Then that should give us 2. So on and so forth. One other thing as well, of course, this is just company data. So I won't go too in depth on actually finding the people, but this is generally how you do it. So let me just remove this filter just so I can show you a full example of how everything pieces together. So from here, I often don't do my person building in Clay. Generally, my process will be I'll get the Apollo people first, and then after that, I will go ahead and enrich those people in the data that way. So this is kind of back to front to how I'd normally do it, but that's fine. So we can just come to Apollo here, and 1 second, we just go to find people accompanied by job title. So you might want the CTO, you might want head of engineering, head of development. We might want head of QA. I don't know if that's a real title, but whatever it is now. Founder, owner, sure. Founder and owner. Company domains would be this. So the reason that I don't do it this way is you get less control, but also because Apollo is limited to 400 per hour. So like if you have a big lead list, it's obviously less than ideal. But great. So here we have some people. Perfect. Let's just show you how we do it. Again, another reason why we wouldn't do this is because it's kind of unintuitive now to work with these people. But just for example, we have Chris Kalani. He's a chief product owner. Okay, probably not the best. But let's just take the first one from each. Let's take that. Okay. So we don't get another problem as well is we don't get their emails through the API anymore. Used to be able to do that on Apollo, but not anymore. So all we need to do now is, of course, we don't have an email address. So now we need to go to work email. Boom. This is perfectly fine. So what this will do is it's a waterfall enrichment. What that means is it's firstly going to take I'll show you, take their name. So we get their name from here, Apollo, results, people. We'll take 0. And we want the full name. We don't want verification on this step. Perfect. We'll hide. In fact, I'll leave the provider columns on so you can see what it's doing. So when we have those in there, why is everything being so weird today? Save. Okay, I have to do it again. Oh, it did work. Okay. Just to clarify, Clay is not normally like this. I think, as I said earlier, they're going under some changes right now with the UI, and things are being a bit strange. But this should now start running. I'm just going to refresh and see what it's doing. Maybe we have to run these. Oh yeah, because I didn't click run. That's fine. So as you can see, it's going to take the domain name. It's going to take the person's name, and it will test different permutations of email combinations to try and find any that are valid. So in this case, great, we have our 5 emails already. So we now have 5 emails. These should be good to send to already. And what I mean by good to send to is that they're valid, they're tested, because not all emails will be valid. As you can see here, valid, that's perfectly fine. But just as a final step, what we'll do is we'll go to debounce. So debounce is just a validation, email validator. If you're new to cold email, you want to make sure that you are really, really careful with validation, because if you start getting a ton of bounces, everything goes wrong. You'll burn your accounts. And if you are, God forbid, sending from your primary domain, which if you are, please never ever do that again, because you will ruin your entire company. But it just means that your domain will get blacklisted, essentially. Very, very layman's terms, but that is what will end up happening, and you will not be able to send emails to anybody. So we want only safe to send emails. Basically, this is just meaning that they are they're not risky emails. So some emails might come back as casual. So that means that the provider is unsure if they're valid or not. So again, we want to avoid those, and we also do not want free emails either. So we come in here, we'll take the valid ones, we'll click save. Okay. And then we're just going to run. Oh, damn. Okay, I did do it right. Yeah, so here's a good example where that's loading. So for this one, we couldn't find an email. It's going to look the next place. Couldn't find it, look the next place, next place, next place. And it will try the last one. So you won't find emails for everybody. You can see here, we now have 2 valid emails here. So from here, you have 2 options to get the other ones fixed, you can use a tool like Scrubby to get the catch-alls, because these ones will be catch-all, most likely. We didn't save them, so that's why it's not going to show us. But likely these will be catch-all emails, so you can import those into Scrubby. Or what we often do as well is we will do LinkedIn outreach to companies who we couldn't find their email. And we just get that from here. So in here, people, LinkedIn. So you have these people's LinkedIn, and we can just add those to a LinkedIn campaign. And then finally from here, you're now ready to start sending. So all we do, at least this is what we do, is you go to Smart Lead, add lead to campaign. I'm not going to click it because you will see my campaigns, but you'd add lead to the campaign, and then you're pretty much good to go. Everything is done. So I hope this was useful. It was like a very top level overview of building something entirely from scratch. Again, just to clarify, that we're basing this just off the information that I was able to extract from the website. Of course, normally we'd have a full onboarding form, we'd know everything there is to know. But hopefully gives a fairly good overview of the process. So as always, if you have any other ideas of tables or cold emails, anything that you're curious about within B2B SaaS, let me know in the comments or send me a message on LinkedIn, whatever it may be. More than happy to make a video about it. And if you are a B2B SaaS and you're looking to have somebody run your outbound, or even if you're just curious about somebody running outbound, there'll be a call link in the description at the top. So we can just spend 15 minutes just to figure out, does it make sense? Is it something that we can help you with?